off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio station, home to the Asian Oprah, and broadcasting everywhere else too. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, Streaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I'm on a happy 88 mission, which is 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. So I have topics and guests to that end. In fact, let's see, how many weeks have I been doing this? 638 consecutive weeks, but who's counting? And also 1,190, I believe, podcast shows. So there's just, I'm balancing out all the bad news. People said it would not last more than a year, and thank you. You're wrong. 12 years later, I'm still on it. Every weekday morning, I got promoted to the morning show during COVID. So coming at you every single weekday morning, one of my 8 jobs. So yeah, I used to be called the Energizer Bunny. I think we're going on Energizing Turtle these days, because even though I'm hashtag ageless, sometimes it is a little bit, I need a little more self-talk and pep talk to get to where I'm going. But I am delighted to be here, and I hope you had a fabulous weekend. I asked you to have the best weekend ever. Hopefully that intention came true for you. I know that it was a wonderful day yesterday because it was my big brother, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith's birthday, and he did close to 100 push-ups. I usually give him $1 for every push-up he does. So, and he did a yoga pose, and so I didn't do this on Friday. I'll do it today. Happy birthday, dear big brother Michael Bernard Beckwith. You are one of a kind, wonderful. Happy birthday to you. And the reason why I call him my big brother is because it was his vision for me that changed my life from, let's see, when I first got to Agape, I was angry, bitter, going through a pretty expensive divorce that I had to pay because, as the judge looked at me and said, you wanted equal rights. So I was, not happy. I'd had 2 accidents in like 3 months. Not myself. I was drinking a lot and trying to get off alcohol with sleep pills because I couldn't sleep. I was trying to get through off of sleep pills with alcohol, and it was a mess. And that was what showed up at Agape's doorstep. And I met this man who spoke like nobody else ever spoke. Used words like joy, peace, harmony, serenity, wonder, bliss, blissipline, things I'd never heard strung together. And I sat up and accidentally, hashtag not accidentally, bumped into him after the first time I heard him speak. And he said, "Hey, little sister." And I went, "Hi." I figured, it was not a church, but kind of like a center, spiritual center. And so I said hi, and I said it was my first time. He said, great, come back. And next thing you know, I took a class called Universal Principles of Spirituality. And that changed the trajectory of my life. Not saying that I did anything wrong, but I was ready to not see myself as something wrong with me. That is pretty normal for people who grow up with childhood trauma. I'm one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. And so I thought it really interesting that why is it that if we're the majority, why is it that we think there's something wrong with us? So that began a journey of understanding that my anger at my perpetrator was, not useful to me, as well as my anger towards my husband was also not useful for me, and that I was not just a person who experienced pain in life, because pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. And so that was the beginning of a new volume in my book of life, where he looked into me, asked me one day, can I look into you? I'm like, I don't know what that means, but sure. And he said, I see a planet with a big chunk missing, but what's coming is way bigger than that. And that has come true. I never thought I'd have a #1 best-selling book. I never thought I'd have a platform, radio, TV now with cameras in the studio that would win awards or be over 12 years. I never thought that I would be speaking on massive stages all over the world. All of that was what he saw coming. And for that reason, I am indebted to this man who doesn't create followers. It's not a cult, but who creates leaders. And I am forever grateful, 谢谢大哥, and happy to be a part of what he founded, Agape Spiritual Center, and I call it Love Central. And for that, I am truly grateful. And that tops my take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. Those of you who've just tuned in, we are starting with breakfast. I launched into my first gratitude. We go through this little good life habit now for the last couple of years, starting the day with 8 things that you are grateful for that are outside of yourself. Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's on the other side, said 5. I'm an overachiever. 8's a lucky number in Chinese. It's a homophone for good fortune. So we do 8 on the top, and then we go to the bottom of the bun, which is 8 things that you appreciate about yourself. And I started that with my big brother. He's also, by the way, the one who introduced me to Oprah as the Asian Oprah. I apologize for those who've heard this before, but I have to point it out because the insecure part of me is concerned that you think I made that up, and it wasn't made up. It was given to me, which is beautiful. But I'll own it and say there's people who say, yeah, but Dr. Marissa, you really don't need that reference to, or to say that you're Asian Oprah, you're Dr. Marissa Pei. That's good enough. You don't need to make that association. And I thank them for the compliment. And at the same time, I know that when I'm on the red carpet interviewing Halle Berry, it's one thing to say, hi, Halle, I'm Dr. Marissa Pei. How would you define happiness? She doesn't know me, but when I say, hi, this is Dr. Marissa reporting live, you know me as the Asian Oprah, they laugh, my interviewees, and it makes for a very different red carpet interview, makes a very different on the spot sound bite. It makes a world of difference. So that's why I use it to introduce myself. All right. I am also grateful for the sun that shines no matter where you are. And I'm grateful for the fact that we saw dolphins during last week's Wet Wednesday race when I'm on the U.S. Sailing Center team boat, and we saw dolphins, I think is rounding the second mark, which was unusual, but they do call me the dolphin whisperer because I encourage you to make wishes when you see dolphins surface. Speaking of which, if you want to see some fantastic Mother Nature, one of my sponsors is the fabulous Newport Beach whale watching, whale and dolphin tour out of Newport Beach. And they are doing tours all the time. And they're a wonderful sponsor for the show. And I'm going to have to go hit them up and see if we can't get another pair of tickets to give away. So you have something really magnificent to do on the weekend. If you've never gone out on one of these tours, you have to. All right. I am grateful that I've gotten to travel. I've been 3 continents just this year. And for that, I am truly grateful that I have the freedom and being invited to do speaking and book tours and lecturing. Another one of those. Never saw it coming, but very grateful for it. And now let's go to the bottom of the bun, which is, what do you like about yourself? What do you like about yourself? Why is that even a question? Because when I ask people what they like about themselves, a lot of people are stumped. Oh, really? And I think that is because one of the reasons is we grow up being told, don't toot your own horn. We're told as a Chinese girl, I was told the nail that stands up is hammered down. And my sister Keiko Matsui, who's also going to be performing at the Long Beach Jazz Festival on Sunday this year, I always laugh because I say that for my birthday, I get Long Beach to throw a jazz festival because it's almost always on my birthday weekend, August 10th. And this year it is true. It's over my birthday weekend. Yeah, right, Dr. Marissa. I actually got to speak on their health pavilion one year too. Shout out to Sheila. But Keiko, my Japanese sister, is going to be performing on Sunday. Go to Long Beach Jazz Festival.com or just use my assistant Google and you'll get all the ticket links and everything so you can go there and enjoy some really great jazz. So I hope to see you there. I appreciate that I have the ability to talk. Some of you say talk too much. True. I remember when I first started doing this, and one of the mean feedbacks, but it was very constructive because I was nervous that I overspoke and I didn't let the guests speak enough, and I had to react or say something or comment on whatever they said. And I learned. And now when I interview guests, I try not to do that. Most of the time I'm successful, and I appreciate that I can learn. Last appreciation, what do you like about yourself? I will say that I appreciate my sense of humor. I love laughing, even if the only laugh I can get is at myself, because laughter's my favorite sound on the planet. And that's it for my taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich, a good life habit that will keep you happier maybe than you are when you get up in the morning instead of MS, which is meaningless scrolling, which is normally a lot of bad news. You can do and take a bite and have breakfast with me for taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And thank you for joining me for that. I do believe, too, it's my BS that one of the reasons why there is so much dis-ease in life right now is people are so focused on what's wrong with you, what's wrong with the world, what is this world coming to? Why would someone do that? There's a lot of things that are easily recognized in the news as negative news and bad news. So it's my job to help you focus and use the most powerful tool you have in life, which is choice, to focus on things that are good. That way, more good will come. And that's a law of attraction law, just like gravity, works whether you believe it or not. And I do know that when I am feeling happy about myself, then I'm less likely to go looking for love in all the wrong places, who likes me. With social media now, it's like literally who likes me. So I'm hoping that you'll do this good life habit with me every morning, and even without me, that you can start your day with my gratitude sandwich. And I promise you will have a day enveloped in the most positive way. Thanks for joining me for breakfast. All righty. And now it is time for the topic of today, and it is Monday, Monday. It is not rainy days and Mondays always get me. It's obvious I didn't go to karaoke this week. Hashtag UP going up. Unlimited possibilities. And that starts with good mental health. It is Mental Health Monday Matters, or Mental Health Matters Mondays. And I pick a topic based on something that someone asked me or brought to my attention this last week. And one of the things that has come up several times is the dis-ease or disease of perfectionism. So, let's see if I brought my glasses. I'm going to give you a test to see if you qualify as a perfectionist. And I don't know very many people who are not, but I don't want to get ahead of myself here. I'm going to give you some questions. And if you say yes, that means you're more likely to be a perfectionist. And if you say this, no, then, we'll see how many you exactly come up with. All right, here we go. You ready? Now you can use, just use your fingers to count. And we'll see. If you get 5, you're most likely a perfectionist. But we'll see. All right. Do you have a voice in your head that says you're really not all that? Okay. Are you your own worst enemy? That's 2. Do you say, no one is harder on me than I am? If you get 99 compliments and 1 insult, your mind goes to that 1 insult. Are you always available to help someone else, but then you have no time for yourself? Do you say to yourself, You're only as good as your last success. Usually complaining about that at work. 6, do you have a fear of failure? 7, do you worry about humiliation? I have a lot of clients who, no matter how successful they are, they're afraid that something's going to happen and they're going to be humiliated and then like never be able to get back to the level that they thought they were at. That's 8. 9, do you feel like you are on a hamster wheel, always busy? That's 9. And do you have what they call an imposter syndrome? So you are complimented, whatever it is. Oh, is there anything you don't do? Is one of my favorites. Or, wow, you're so amazing. And then you say thank you. And then at the end of that, you say, well, the voice in your head says, well, if you think they don't really know you, because if they knew you, they wouldn't be saying that. Okay, so there are 10 statements that I've used for all of my happiness coachees who come to me and they say, I'm not happy, but I don't know why. And when we do this test, this little quiz, they have 7, 8, 9 items that they will nod yes to or check and agree that that is in their head. And then I will tell them the good news is you're not alone. And the bad news is you have a disease or dis-ease of perfectionism. And that's the topic today, because there are so many people out everywhere. And what was really interesting is, you all know, I just got back from China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And they asked me to speak on leadership, effective communication, learning organization at one university, and the other university I spoke on hope, happiness, and work-life balance. And one of the things when I was preparing it and putting the slides together, I thought, I wonder if the concepts that I'm going to be bringing, perfectionism being one of them, as your self-inflicted barrier to happiness and success, would translate across cultural boundaries. So American is very different than Chinese culture. I got to experience both growing up in a Chinese, very first generation. You know, my dad came from China. My mom also came from China, but when the communists came, my dad's family went to Hong Kong. My mom's family went to Taiwan. And so when they came to the States and then to Canada, my father got his PhD from McGill University in chemical engineering. My mom was a nurse, and they met in Montreal and then got married and moved to Waterloo, Ontario, which is a very small town in Ontario, housing the University of Waterloo, which is the largest university for chemical engineering. And that's how I was born in Canada. So where was I going with this? Oh, yes. So I had now I'm saying the benefit of two cultures, because one of the meetings I had when I was in China was with the largest publisher, entertainment, media conglomerate from the government of China called CITIC. And I had gone to see about This, by the way, is your Asian Oprah giveaway today, the audiobook copy of A Ways to Happiness. That is done very well here. #1 Amazon and national bestseller now. And I went there to see if they were interested in picking up the book for a Chinese publisher so that the Chinese people could read it as well, because I address childhood trauma from like a tiger mom. So I had this question in my head, and perfectionism is one of the core components of why we're not happy. And I thought for a second, I hope this translates for people in a culture that is very different than ours, the Chinese culture. And I was delighted, and not delighted, obviously. You don't want to wish bad things on people. And I won't say perfectionism is bad. It has a lot of upsides in the terms of you get a lot done, you're very high achieving, you're very accomplished. But the downside is you're super tired, you're super, just like this, there's no balance, and you can have a fabulous day and then you can have the worst day of your life, and you just feel like you're not on solid ground. I forgot to talk about all of the downsides. Well, there's a lot of them. And so I was very happy to see that even in the Chinese culture, or maybe even more so, because they are less free to be able to have an alternative to that craziness, right? You have to work hard. You have to be #1. You have to have everything, all ducks in a row. So I'm very glad that they also could relate to all of my presentations, and that the concepts were familiar to them, is my point. And I'm beginning to realize that to be human and to be part of that crazy population that has to be #1, Leos, probably most Leos, or any fire sign, where we just kind of go crazy. Someone told me the other day that, I met a long, long time ago an executive from Nestle, Hans Niedert, and he said, I met him on a plane, and he said, and we kept in touch for like 15 years. And he said, you're like a little hurricane, because I'm whirling around trying to do everything. And somebody else more recently said that I was a hurricane inside of another natural disaster. I don't know if that's necessarily a compliment, but this overdoing things, if you're relating right now, and welcome, I see eyeballs rolling in. If you're tuned in to take my advice, I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and it is Monday. That's why we're talking about perfectionism as a disease, and how it is a self-inflicted disease that keeps us from being happy. So this is the answer when people say to me, I don't know what's wrong, I'm tired all the time, I worry a lot, I feel anxious, I'm successful from the outer standards, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything tomorrow, things out of my control. So if that at all sounds like you, this is the treatment that we're going to have when we come back after station ID. Thanks for joining me right now. We'll be right back. And don't go away. We'll be here in 2 and 2.
If conforming to the world was exclusive exploring the world. What if the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, little girl, turns into how many streets of life you want to explore? What if the purpose of life is not to die with the most toys to leave our squabbling relatives? What if the purpose of life was to do things that we enjoy most of the time, have relationships that we enjoy most of the time, and use our unique talents, gifts, and abilities to fully express in the dash between birth and death? What if, as a direct result of this horrible pandemic, we could rise out of the ashes with a new PPP, post-pandemic possibilities? The sooner you turn, it's impossible, to I'm possible, the what ifs become possible too. Because you are loving, lovable, and loved, wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness. But it may start with getting out of bed and making it. What if starts with
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel that houses all 1,190 shows and 638 consecutive weeks. Thanks for joining me. Today is Monday, and that is Mental Health Matters Mondays. And we're talking about ways in which we do have some control, because in the end, the only thing we have control over is the buck stops right over here, ourselves. And so every Monday, or mostly every Monday, I come at you with some ideas on how to be happier and manage and be responsible and accountable and help yourself instead of reaching for somebody else or some substance to ease that dis-ease that you might be feeling, especially for us overachievers, recovering overachievers. Perfectionism, which is a very strong and not useful dis-ease with life that a lot of us have and experience, and as a direct result of that, are not happy. And in fact, you took a test at the beginning. If you missed that, please go and rewind so you can take the test as well. Another way to test to see if you have perfectionism is, do you find yourself trying to do all, be all, please everybody, finish everything, accomplish, achieve, and then when you're exhausted, you start going down what I call the perfectionistic slide? The next level down is called procrastination. I've always wanted to be a procrastinator, but never got around to it. Oh, I put in some, let's see if I can find it. We've been trying to find this. Okay. Really? It's not a ba-dum-dum, but that was the closest. Procrastination, which is obviously you don't want to do it not perfect, so you put it off. And then the bottom of that slide is paralysis. I can't get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to open my mail. I don't want to face life. Maybe it'll just go away if I don't wake up or if I don't get out of bed. So that's another test. If you have perfectionism, it's wanting everything perfect, which you can never do because you can't control everything, and then going into procrastination. I've always wanted to be a procrastinator, but didn't get around to it. And paralysis, not doing anything at all. And this is another way to identify. So if you find yourself procrastinating a lot to the point where you're just so wiped out, and there's a lot of conditions that are related to stress, and that is a primary main effect, not a side effect, fatigue, and chronic fatigue of not managing stress, not managing how much comes at you until your body goes, we're going to have an internal way to turn everything off. You're going to be incapacitated, so you can't do anything at all. So we're in the second half of the show, which means it's time for solution. How do we cure ourselves from the dis-ease of perfectionism? Well, unfortunately, it is not a light switch. You just flip that light switch on, all the darkness of fatigue and turmoil and chronic unhappiness goes away. No, it's one of these. I know. As a systemic theorist and systemic scientist, I know that there's no one answer to one problem, that it's a multiple faceted problem and a multiple faceted solution, which I know for me helps me not be so quick to tell someone they're wrong. If you missed last week's Mental Health Monday, I gave you some tools on how to get along with people a little better. It's the same foundation, systemic thinking. So the solution is multidimensional. So what can you do to begin to treat your dis-ease of perfectionism? So the first thing is, as we say in the field, the first step is always awareness. So that's why we started with the test and the assessment. So if you did not qualify as a perfectionist, you can go do the dishes or something. But keep it on in case you know people who are perfectionists. How many of you know people who are perfectionists? I bet you know at least one. And you can give them this free podcast to take a listen to. So awareness, I am a perfectionist. Okay. And the second is to recognize the downside. So this is where perfectionists actually think that it's a good thing. There's a lot of people, they burn the midnight and the noon and the morning candle. They're always busy. They never relax. They never slow down. They're volunteers. They do their job. They have children they take care of, and a husband they take care of, a partner they take care of, and they're the ones that are first up to do this, and then they have to go. They make sure they go to the gym to work out if they had, wanting that time, and they're taking care of parents and that's a perfectionist, trying to do everything perfectly and on a hamster wheel. And every relationship is a hamster wheel because you got to do it perfect. That thing has to be good. And that will drive you crazy. So recognizing that perfectionism is a dis-ease is the second step. Because a lot of us grow up, especially if you had a tiger mom that says, you have to get A pluses, you have to be the best, you have to be able to do this, So anytime there's criticism, it takes you all the way down because you're not perfect. And you don't want to be reminded that you're perfect because you've got a critic inside that keeps telling you, oh, you're not all that. You're not worthy. You screwed up, reminding you of the last thing you did. Regret, 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 regret. So perfectionism is not a good thing. It is a dis-ease. It's a self-inflicted approach or decision to live your life. So first step, awareness. Second step is to understand the consequences of being a perfectionist. So yes, maybe there's a good side. Your boss sees you working 80 hours a week. The downside is at some point you're going to break down. Okay. Third, to recognize that it is impossible to be perfect. This is something I for years still said, I will be happy when I'm perfect, right? I really believe that I can continue this crazy schedule, whatever it is, to believe that I can be perfect, right? I really think that I can be that 100% all the time for everybody, make everybody happy. And it is impossible. And it wasn't until I could actually let that go and not feel like a failure for not being perfect. And I don't know if anybody can relate to this. Please let me know if I am one of zero or one of one. But there are still people out there who believe if I just can get this thing done, or if I can just get this person to change their mind, then I will be happy. Because perfectionists say, I will be happy when, and then they move the when. So they're never happy. So nothing is ever good enough. Well, you said you'd be happy if you had $1 million. Yeah, but inflation and da-da-da-da. So now it's 10 million, right? Or I'll be happy when I have, when I'm married, right? Then you're married and you're in a relationship that's not useful or not happy making at all. And that's not perfect. So the third component of treating perfectionism is letting go of that goal of being perfect. And that's the inside out job, because somewhere somebody said, you're not lovable unless you are perfect. When you're perfect, you're loved. When you screw up, you are not loved. Opposite, you are hated, you are disrespected, you are horrible. Okay. That BS, that belief system has to go away. And the only way that is going to go away, everybody can compliment you. I have lots of people who compliment me, but if I'm still holding that BS belief system about myself, doesn't matter what people say, I don't believe them. That's that imposter syndrome. That's also that, if you only knew me, right? Or I shouldn't have done this, or I shouldn't. And that's that critic, that internal critic, that when you do work in my balanced happiness coaching methodology, is we have to address that voice. And the antidote for that critic is balance-centered you. Everybody has a balance-centered self. And you may have heard me talking about this with Ricky, my Friday co-host of Hollywood Rebel Report. Come back this Friday. We're going to do the second half where he talked about a horrible situation that happened on America's Got Talent, where, he believed that the law of attraction he believes it does not work because he was so attuned to the possibility of it. So tune in on Friday for second half of that. But I talked to him. We've named the critic in his head. So the third component of the prescription to the dis-ease of perfectionism is to recognize who's talking now. I know that people say, if you hear voices in your head, you're nuts, you're crazy. But I say that if you cannot recognize that voice in your head as not you, that's just your critic, but it is not you. You are the balance-centered, one-of-a-kind, wonderful person who has to be able to soothe that critical voice. All right. Number 4 in the treatment of the dis-ease of perfectionism. And that is adopting and replacing that BS, that belief system that you're never going to be good enough, that you're not worthy, you're only as good as your last win, is to replace that with a BS, a belief system of who you really are. And this is one of the big reasons I called Dr. Michael Bernard back with my big brother is this was the big BS, the big belief system that I had to choose in order to change the trajectory of my life from, going down that perfectionism slide, perfectionism, procrastination, paralysis, to going up, #UP, unlimited possibilities. So what is that BS? Well, if I believe that life is random and meaningless and there can't be, if there was a God, we wouldn't have so much starvation and we wouldn't have so much, war. We wouldn't be going backwards as a country with the, I'm so tempted, but I'm not going to. We don't do politics on the show. So, if I continue to believe or choose to believe that life is random, no purpose, that we're just blips on this planet, Einstein says it best. He says, the most important question that a human being has to answer is the universe friendly or not? That's the bottom line. So I have to adopt a BS, a belief system that says, the universe is friendly. No matter how you want to put in front of me all the bad things that are happening, I still fundamentally believe and choose to believe that the universe is friendly. You don't have to, but if you don't, then you'll never be happy because you're always going to be holding your breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop, because your fundamental BS belief system is that people are bad, life is random, it's all a crapshoot. I don't want to bring children into this world because of all the crap that's happening. I don't want to live that way. And it is as simple as a choice, because what happens when I choose to see the universe is friendly, no matter what bad stuff happens, I know it's for my divine and best good. I know that it's either this or better. So every disappointment I have is just a clarification for me. I know what I don't want, so I know what I do want. That's a little agape, little Abraham Hicks. All right. So that's step 4. Choose a BS, a belief system that will provide a foundation for you to be happy. Number 5, last one. At night, before you go to bed, I want you to say to yourself, have I done the best that I can with the time that I have and the resources I have? And 98% of the time, you're going to say yes. When you maybe have slipped up or done something you regret, even then, everybody does the best that they can with the time they have and the resources they have. If they could do better, they would, but they can't. If I could do better, I would, but I can't because I'm not perfect. And 88% of the time, I do the best thing, and 12% of the time, I mess up because I'm human, I'm not perfect, and I'm okay with it. If you can hold that truth, if you can hold that BS belief system, you will be able to break through the dis-ease of perfectionism. Like I said, it's not a light switch. You're going to have to practice, 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 practice. You can do it. I can do it. I choose to do it 88% of the time. 12% of the time, I mess up. And when I mess up, I'm like, "Ah." And then I say, okie dokie. I have a stuffed animal. Okie dokie is its name. And when I, especially major mess ups, I hold and say, okie dokie. That way, I can also, looking back, how many of you have regrets? How many of you wish you hadn't have done something or said something, and there's no way you can make an amends now because the person's gone or, whatever it is. And so you live your life in this space of woulda, shoulda, coulda. Don't should on yourself. Everybody does the best they can with the time they have and the resources that I have. So whatever happened as a perfectionist that you're beating yourself up for, I got 2 words for you. Look at me. Stop it. You didn't know any better. You really didn't. No, I knew and I still did it. Yeah, and you're not perfect. Do you feel remorse? Yes. Have you made amends? Yes. Have you made living amends? Yes. Then that's it. There's nothing to beat yourself up for. Beating yourself up is completely a waste of time and energy. We talked about that. I replayed a spotlighted interview, Janine Roth, the pioneer of compulsive overeating. And I don't know if you remember, I love that. She said, if beating yourself up worked as a strategy, we'd all be perfect. But it doesn't work. It just makes whatever it is worse. So there is my solution, my recommendation, my treatment. It's all in here. If you're hearing this now or later and you would like an audiobook copy, that's your Asian Oprah giveaway today, because I'm on that happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. That's why I'm here. That's my job. That's my purpose. First and foremost for myself. And then if you get something out of it, fabulous. If you don't, I don't have the the market, the whole market corner. This is just one way, one approach that you can find a little bit more happiness. I'm going to close out today by redirecting attention to one of my show sponsors and one of the organizations that I really support. And this coming Saturday is their annual fundraiser. And for those of you who did miss the interview, I'll be playing it again on Thursday. But just a highlight, if you don't have anything to do this Saturday, please go to doorsofchange.org. And I already have winners, but you can donate and feel good about what you're doing to get homeless youth off of the streets. And Mr. Sitkoff has been on my show many times. This is one of the young women who were on the streets. I don't know if that's the one that came last year on my show. She's now a lawyer, but it's an amazing organization. I don't talk about problems in the world without having a solution. So when we talk about homelessness, I don't want you to shake your head and say, oh, so terrible, they just need to get a job. It's way more complicated than that. That's a Newtonian approach to say, stop doing welfare or just tell them to get a job. Instead, I want you to do systemic thinking. There's multiple ways in which homelessness happens. So let's treat different aspects of it. And Doors of Change does an amazing job with that. And they're having their annual concert this Saturday. And the musical inspiration is the KC and the Sunshine Band. I'm ageless, but I do remember them. 2 years ago was Jeremiah Was a Bulldog. Bum, bum, bum. And that was so fun. So I will be there. I'll have a step and repeat. I think they have that I'll be doing some interviews on. Please do go and support this solution of Doors of Change. This Saturday's concert's going to be a fabulous one. In the meantime, remember, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Thanks for joining me today. If you missed, I see some eyeballs rolling in. We talked about perfectionism as a self-inflicted barrier to happiness with some solutions there. Tomorrow, I have a great guest, and it's going to be a surprise. So I will wish you the best night, day, ever. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me, as usual.